Soft you, a word or two before you go. So begins the great final speech filled with pathos and nobility of one of Shakespeare's most memorable tragic heroes. Like Othello, but in a so much more mundane vein, I need a word or two before you go. Like Othello, I hope that when it comes time for my exit, I can say that, quote, I've done the state some service, unquote. Unlike Shakespeare's majestic Moor, I do not intend to end my comments today by seizing a dagger and plunging it into my own breast. As you can perhaps well imagine, this is a very odd occasion for me. It feels rather like a marriage ceremony in which one is wedded to an institution, not a wife. It's going to heighten the oddness of the moment for me to preface my formal remarks with a funny little story. The humorous story involves the chancellorial search process, not a topic which immediately suggests comedy, at least not to most well-balanced people. After the customary flirtation by mail and phone, I visited UNCA for an interview late in the winter of 1991. I was nervous about the meeting, of course, so I sent my best suit to the cleaners, and before I came to Asheville, carefully unwrapped it and looked for any defects before driving over. Snappy costume and some snappy answers in tow, Nancy and I threw on blue jean cutoffs and T-shirts and drove over from Greensboro to spend the night with my mother-in-law. As you may have guessed by now, bright and early the next morning, your future chancellor bounded out of bed, took a 3-mile run, cleaned up, and discovered he had failed to repack the pants of the suit. Only a hasty trip to a local clothier saved me from meeting the search committee in suit, coat, shirt, tie, dress shoes, and shorts. The point of this story is that chancellors, at least this chancellor, are regular people who occasionally do very stupid things. Our needs and our knees are just like everyone else's. Let's not any of us forget that point. Let's get started now. Pontifications. Pontificate. This fine old word has two distinct meanings, both of which are appropriate today. In its more common denotation, it's pejorative. It means to speak simple-minded things in a way which is self-important and pompous. Who does he think he is, standing up there pontificating all afternoon? Certainly we all expect pontificating of this sort on these ceremonial occasions, would perhaps be a bit disappointed by its absence. I usually live up to such expectations and will try not to disappoint today. The second, less frequent meaning comes from the same root word as the name pontiff, for pope. It means a builder of bridges. For the pope, the bridges are between the church and God and the faithful. I am, in at least two ways, ludicrously unqualified for the papacy. But I want to pontificate a bit that way, too, today. There are two sorts of bridge buildings to discuss. The bridges of the job into which I'm being installed. Sounds kind of like a job for a plumber, doesn't it? Then there are the more important bridges inherent in the work all of us do as teachers and learners in a liberal arts university. I am in love with this job. Let me tell you a bit about it. In many ways, the job of a university chancellor or a college president is a matter of building bridges by telling stories. Our precious UNCA is sustained by the work, support, and friendship of so many constituencies, an effective and knowledgeable Western North Carolina legislative delegation, the richly diverse people of this state, region, and city who have made UNCA their liberal arts university, an effective general administration, and a thoughtful board of governors, an engaged and supportive board of trustees, caring and helpful alumni, a foundation board generous in both time and fiscal commitment, parents who invest in us the enormous trust of educating their daughters and sons, a hard-working, efficient staff and administration, and of course the two constituencies which are at the heart of our enterprise, who give our work meaning and reason, students and faculty. Our students are bright, ambitious, curious, multi-talented, dedicated, energetic, charming. Athletes, single parents, honors recipients, researchers, partisans, they are both our customers and our product. We are devoted to them. UNCA's teachers match the gifts and dedication of their students. They bring to an often misunderstood vocation their intellects and their hearts. Like all extraordinary teaching faculties, they mix the quirky and the wise. They instruct with intimidating rigor and touching care. We who earn our living supporting these remarkable women and men are lucky, even blessed in the association. UNCA's chancellor builds and polishes the complex web of linkages which knit together all these centers or hubs of institutional commitment. My assignment is to strengthen and protect the bridges between students and staff, for example, or faculty and foundation, to stimulate and nourish productive communication on campus and between campus and community. When I do my job well, a civic club where I am a guest speaker will come to share some of the sense of excitement of a first-year humanities class, say, or members of one of our boards will develop a renewed appreciation for the trials and rewards of being a college professor, or students and faculty will grow in understanding of the warm community support which enfolds this campus. This is a delightful assignment. Our constituents are so varied, young and old, near and far, Christian, Jew, Muslim and agnostic, black and white, Native Americans, and immigrants with American ties as old as the Mayflower and as recent as yesterday's headlines, rich and poor, parents and children and grandparents. The challenging variety of reaching all these members of our UNCA family and helping them to reach each other is a vocation of unmitigated freshness. The job is engaging and surprisingly filled with gratification. I try to tell each group in appropriate and happy language the real story of UNCA, who we are, why we are, where we came from, where we are going. This is a task which sometimes requires diplomacy and balance, but mostly it involves just telling the truth. That truth is that UNCA is a place of such splendid promise that its unadorned story, even when told haltingly, is, if truly told, shining and persuasive. So that's the first part, pontificating by building bridges which link all the components of our university, nearby and far-flung, forging those connections by telling our unique and admirable story. And that story, here's a surprise, is about another kind of pontificating, building bridges. We are a liberal arts university, and that means more than anything else that our essential mission is connecting things. Liberal education does not derive its name from the political impulses of its practitioners. Rather, our kind of liberal comes from the same language root as liberate. A liberal education is liberty. The liberal arts help make us free. How? Let me exploit an image coined by John Henry Cardinal Newman, who took a job not unlike mine at the end of the last century and who thought more deeply and more clearly about what he was doing than any other liberal educator, or at least any other president or rector or chancellor before or since. Imagine our confusion, Cardinal Newman suggests, if we come to a strange city and plunge at once into one of its specific neighborhoods, a bustling marketplace or a quiet residential block, say. We're disoriented. We have no frame of reference within which to place ourselves. This is an experience not uncommon to university chancellors, by the way. All too often, we arrive at some exotic locale in the middle of the night, awake the next day in a hotel or motel room, throw open the curtains, and have absolutely no idea of what we are looking at. Where does that expressway go? Are those trees a park or the front yard of a corporate office? Where's downtown? Where's the university? Where was the airport? Which way is east? By the way, the word orientation means finding out which way is east. Such, Cardinal Newman suggests, is the fate of the mind which has not acquired in school or elsewhere in life liberal learning. Now think instead that when we first arrive in our imaginary city, we climb some overlooking ridge and see the entire metropolis laid out before us. A map is an acceptable but less desirable substitute. Suddenly, the shape of the whole of the city is in sight. We can see and examine each of its parts. And even more enlightening, we can see how they are all connected to each other. I see. That's the road from the airport, and after it goes by the university and a park, it ends up downtown. There, past that residential neighborhood, is a mall and an industrial district. By acquiring an overview, a sense of the number, nature, and relationship of the parts, each of those parts can be comprehended in relationship to the complete city. If this is true of an actual earthly city built of concrete and brick, blacktop and lumber and landscape, how much truer of the more complex, more difficult city of human knowledge and understanding. How confusing mathematics or literature, physics or metaphysics, if we just plunge in with no sense of relationships. And how illuminating to realize that literature and math, for example, are both disciplines which ask the interpretation, analysis, and understanding of complex but self-justifying symbol systems. We can understand poetry and calculus so much better when we grasp the ways they are alike and different. And then we might move on to examine how literature is like and unlike history. History, in turn, is linked to sociology and anthropology, those social sciences to economics, which is reconnected to math again, and on and on and on. Liberal education, by surveying the breadth of human learning, as well as exploring specific fields of knowledge in depth, opens up before us in ever clearer detail and perspective the plan of the whole. And as that plan becomes clearer, be it of city or of knowledge, wonderfully, we become free to move around and explore on our own. We are empowered to visit new neighborhoods or new disciplines, at least moderately secure in our growing sense of where they fit within the master plan. To be liberal, liberating, learning must seek to show us the pattern of connections between the things we study. The clearer our grasp of that intellectual topography, the more our minds are free. This is what we mean when we describe ourselves as a liberal arts university, that we pontificate, that we build bridges, that we discover more and more of that pattern which undergirds and unifies all knowledge. The bridges we try to build at a fine liberal arts school like UNCA turn knowledge into wisdom. This isn't a large mission, it's just everything. There's so much more I would like to speak. I wish so much I had more glorious words and more stirring sentences to convey what I want to say. Oh, for a muse of fire that would ascend the brightest heaven of invention, to quote Shakespeare one more and one last time. There are so many people to thank. My dear family, my good friends, my valued colleagues. And there is so much history to recall, so many plans for discussion and debate. But my weak rhetorical powers and your much stronger patience have surely both been tried to the limit. Let me conclude not with a ringing conclusion, but with a homely little observation as I began. I want, of course, to do well here, at an institution which is doing well, to thrive and prosper at a thriving UNCA. But much, much more, I want to do good here at a school which is doing so much good for so many people. My chancellorial aspirations are, despite the pomp and pageantry of this day, more monastic than imperial. I wish to work long and hard and honestly to help those who do the real business of this university, teaching and learning. This, I think, is a modest but a virtuous assignment. I've noticed recently a new phenomenon during my all too frequent travels. When I drive or fly away from UNCA, from Asheville, from our mountains, I find myself sad and wistful. And when a few hours or days later, I first see the hills, then the gentle rolling peaks of this place again, then I'm excited and happy. What I've noticed, of course, is that I'm coming home. My hope, and I hope it is your hope also, my prayer, and I pray it is your prayer too, is just this, that in the several possible meanings of the phrase, I'm coming home for good. Thank you.